Iran has warned other countries not to get involved in its conflict with the United States and Israel after US President Donald Trump urged allies to escort oil tankers through the Strait of Hormuz, a request already denied by Australia and Japan. In a brief interview with the Financial Times, Trump said NATO could face a very bad future if US allies failed to help reopen the vital oil shipping route, that's the Strait of Hormuz. Now, Trump added that as the United States aided Ukraine in the war with Russia, he expects Europe to help Washington to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, whose closure has sent energy prices soaring around the world. Even this morning, Brent crude oil trading at about $104 a barrel. Now, the Strait of Hormuz, a narrow waterway which connects major Gulf energy exporters to global markets, has effectively been shut since the US-Iran conflict began on the 28th of February. Now, Trump has called on countries including China, France, Japan, South Korea and the United Kingdom to send ships to escort tankers. But Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi warned other countries to refrain from actions that could further escalate the war. Meanwhile, Iran's new supreme leader Mojtaba Khamenei has vowed to keep the Strait of Hormuz closed as the conflict with the United States and Israel intensifies. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump has threatened additional attacks on Iran's crucial oil export hub at Karg Island, saying he's not ready to negotiate a deal to end the conflict. The warning comes as US officials say they still expect the war to end within weeks, even as Tehran insists it remains stable and prepared to defend itself. Take a look.
U.S. President Donald Trump threatened more strikes on Iran's main oil export hub, Karg Island, over the weekend and said he was not ready to reach a deal to end the war, which has shut off the vital Strait of Hormuz and shaken up global energy markets. The U.S. on Sunday released this video showing what they say were strikes on Iran. Trump has said Iran wants to negotiate, but Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi on Sunday disputed that claim. Araghchi told CBS's Face the Nation that Iran was, quote, ready to defend ourselves for as long as it takes. In Tehran on Sunday, Reuters spoke with residents who had returned to their damaged homes after they were hit by U.S.-Israeli strikes on March 13th.
Well, no one was injured, and that alone is a comfort for us. God willing, the day will come when the force of justice overcomes evil. That alone encourages us.
Iran's Revolutionary Guards said it had fired more missiles and drone barrages at targets in Israel and U.S. military bases in the region, where Saudi Arabia said it had intercepted 10 attacks. An Israeli army spokesperson told the briefing that Israel will continue to act in both Iran and Lebanon until the objectives of its operations are achieved. In Lebanon, more than 800,000 people have fled their homes since Israel began an offensive in the country after the Lebanese Hezbollah group opened fire at Israel in support of its ally Iran on March 2nd. Some displaced Lebanese with no room left at shelters fastened a tarp over the back of a truck to get out of the rain. What should I ask for? I just want a shelter for me and the children, he says. U.S. officials responding to economic uncertainty over high oil prices predicted on Sunday that the U.S.-Israeli war on Iran would end within weeks and that a drop in energy costs would follow. 3 sources told Reuters that Washington has brushed aside attempts by Middle Eastern allies to open talks.
Meanwhile, U.S. Energy Secretary Chris Wright has said the ongoing conflict involving the United States, Israel and Iran could come to an end within the next few weeks. Now, speaking to ABC, Chris Wright said he expects the war between the U.S. and Iran to wind down soon, possibly even earlier than anticipated. He added that once the fighting stops, global oil supplies are likely to rebound, which could help bring down energy prices. Now, Wright's remarks come at a time when global markets remain on edge, with investors worried that the conflict could disrupt oil supplies and push prices higher. Now, according to analysts, any easing of tensions in West Asia could help stabilize energy markets and reduce pressure on fuel costs worldwide. And French President Emmanuel Macron has urged Iran to halt attacks across the region as tensions escalate in the Gulf. In a post on X, Macron said he had asked Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian to immediately stop attacks carried out by Iran or its allied groups in countries such as Lebanon and Iraq. Now, the French leader also stressed that freedom of navigation through the Strait of Hormuz must be restored as soon as possible. Emmanuel Macron additionally called on Tehran to release 2 French citizens currently imprisoned in Iran on espionage charges. France is working with partners to assemble a coalition to help secure the vital shipping route once the security situation stabilizes, while Britain is also discussing options with allies to protect maritime traffic in the region. And as the war between Israel and Iran enters its 3rd week, the escalating conflict is now forcing major emergency decisions in Tel Aviv. The government, led by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, has approved an additional emergency military spending package worth $827 million to boost defense preparedness as the fighting intensifies. According to Israeli media reports, the additional funds were cleared during a special cabinet consultation. The money will be used to purchase munitions, acquired advanced weapon systems and replenish combat stocks that have been heavily used during the ongoing hostilities in Iran. Officials say the decision was driven by the scale and intensity of the conflict. Israeli forces are continuing military operations while simultaneously defending against repeated missile attacks from Iran. Since the war escalated at the end of February, Iran has launched hundreds of ballistic missiles towards Israel. While Israel's air defenses systems have intercepted the majority of those missiles, some strikes and falling debris have still resulted in casualties as well as damage. There have also been reports suggesting shortages in interceptor missiles. However, Israeli Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has rejected those claims, insisting that Israel's missile defense systems remain fully operational. Now, the emergency funds worth $827 million will come from Israel's recently approved $222 billion national budget, which is still awaiting final approval in the Israeli parliament, the Knesset.